For the final time this season, if it's Thursday night, it is Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Yes, hello friends. Anthony Floyer here with you alongside Michael Bullock. I do apologize for the late start. We were waiting for good old MF Michael Fletcher to join us, but fortunately, I just found out now that he is out of our show tonight because of work commitments beyond his control. So that's why we were waiting for him. It's a good thing I messaged him, or else we could have been here all night. So I do apologize for the late start. It was only because we were waiting for MF. So unfortunately, he will not be with us. Hopefully, he'll be back with us tomorrow night for NFL Friday. So let's not waste any more time. We have 7 championship games. This is our season finale of College Football Thursday. I mean, where did the time go, honestly? I mean, it's like just yesterday we started this whole thing, and now here we are at the end of it. So let's start it off without any further ado with the Pac-12 championship on the line. The number 12 Stanford Cardinal against the number 10 USD Trojans, Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. ESPN will have it at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe on the call, and USC a 4-point favorite. So, yes. So, unlike the championship games in the other 4 major conferences, USC and Stanford will not have a berth in the college football playoff on the line when they meet tomorrow night. Even if the Trojans beat Stanford by a lopsided margin, it's difficult to come up with a scenario in which USC could climb into the top 4 of the final CFP rankings. So the winner will have to be satisfied with a berth in one of the New Year's Six Bowls, either the Fiesta, Peach, or Cotton, most likely the Fiesta. USC has already beaten Stanford this season, a decisive 42-24 victory on September 9 in Los Angeles, in which the Trojans outgained Stanford 624 to 342 and had 2 players rush for more than 100 yards. Stephen Carr has played little in the second half of the season because of a foot injury, but Ronald Jones II has 1,346 rushing yards and averaged 168.5 yards over the final 4 games. Wante Burnett, who has 73 catches for 966 yards and 9 touchdowns for the season, had 9 for 121 and 2 touchdowns against the Cardinals. USC coming off a bye after playing 12 consecutive games, while the Cardinals will have a short week to prepare following last Saturday's 38-20 win over Notre Dame. A short week will limit the recovery time of Cardinal running back Bryce Love, who is second in the nation in rushing yards a game at 168, less than a yard behind San Diego State's Rashad Penny, but has been slowed during the last half of the season by ankle injuries. Rushed for 160 yards, including a 75-yard run against the Trojans earlier this season. Star for the Trojans remains quarterback Sam Darnold, rated the number 3 overall pro prospect by NFLDraftScout.com, threw 9 interceptions in his first 6 games this season, but only 3 in the last 6. Darnold was 21 of 26 for 316 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks in the game against Stanford. However, the major difference between the meeting nearly 3 months ago and Friday's game was the Cardinals' quarterback, redshirt freshman KJ Costello. He did not play against the Trojans in September, taking over the starting job late in the year. He has made just 5 starts, but he was the starter in wins over then number 9 Washington, arch rival Cal, and then number 8 Notre Dame, the final 3 games. Costello had his best game last Saturday when he threw 4 touchdown passes with no picks in the 18-point win over the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame pummeled USC 49-14 in South Bend on October 21, giving Irish coach Brian Kelly a perspective on the game Friday. And he said both of them were different styles. Physicality of Stanford versus the athleticism of USC. And he may be right, but in the first meeting, USC turned the ball over twice while the Cardinals did not commit a turnover. Stanford has been a dominant team in the Pac-12 since the conference's expansion to 12 teams in 2011. The Cardinal has won the conference title game 3 times in the 6 years it has been contested. USC has yet to win a championship in that span. Its only berth in the title game coming in 2015 when the Trojans lost to Stanford 41-22. The Pac-12 North 6-0 in Pac-12 championship games. But I think that streak's going to come to an end because I'm going to go with USC to win this game. I got this feeling about SC. I think they're due. 27-23 is going to be my final score behind Sam Darnold Ronald Jones II, Deontay Burnett, and I just think SC is due right now to get a better team. And the Bryce Love thing, I'm a little concerned about. So, a little concerned about the Bryce Love thing. So, nothing more to say on that. 27-23, USC wins the Pac-12. Michael Bullock, come on in. I'm sorry for the long wait, but we had to wait for Ahmed, but now we know he's out. So let's get into it. Pac-12, Stanford, USC, New Year's Six bowl berth on the line here. What do you like here?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, Pac-12 title on the line, but like you said, I mean, these two might not be playing for a college football playoff, but could be a New Year's Six bowl for one of these teams. So there's a lot to play for in this game. So and like you said, I mean, with that for USC with the two-headed monster running back of Ronald Jones and Stephen Carr, I mean, especially with the I mean, that's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. How will Stanford be able to slow down either one of those two? I mean, you know they're definitely going to rely on the running game, and and Sam Darnold. I mean, what can you say about him? I mean, he's in the first half of the year. Well, the first 6 games, he threw 9 interceptions, but has only thrown 3 in the last 6. So yeah, so and Stanford. I mean, I like what I've seen from them, but I just think USC looks like they're the better team here. So yeah, so and here's the thing. I mean, the Cardinals won the conference title game 3 times in 6 years, and USC has yet to win a championship in that during that span. So yeah, I mean, I gotta go with USC in this one. I'm gonna go 27-24 is gonna be my final score here. So I think USC with that win, I think could find themselves in a New Year's Six bowl game, but we'll just have to wait and find out come I think it's Tuesday when we find out not just the college football playoff, but all the bowl games. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. So let's get on to the Saturday slate of conference championships Saturday, and I think it's the American Athletic Conference title game.
Yes. But Sunday afternoon at noon, there's a big special on ESPN. Whether I believe it's
Oh,
also
Sunday.
yeah, Sunday afternoon at noon.
All right, so I stand corrected.
Yes, we'll find out the college football playoff matchups, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get the bowl games on that too. So, but nonetheless, you are correct. American Athletic Conference Championship is next. This is a high noon game on ABC. The number 20 Memphis Tigers against the number 14 UCF Knights. Spectrum Stadium in Orlando. Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Todd McShay. They will have the call. And looking at the spread for this one, UCF is a solid 7-point favorite. All right, Bullock. UCF, man. Oh, who would have thought of all teams they would have their game against USF? Who would have thought that game would have been the game of rivalry week? What a 5-star classic and Shakespearean drama that was.
Yeah, I mean, I never would have thought it'd be the biggest game of rivalry weekend this past weekend. So yeah, and a lot at stake when it comes to this. I mean, for one of these teams, I mean, who knows? I mean, they could be one of these teams could be in a New Year's Six bowl game. So you know, and of course, I mean, yeah, I mean, UCF. I mean, with what they did last week, of course, was and of course, this isn't the first time they met. Of course, it was back on September 30th when the Knights took advantage of a 17-point second quarter en route to a 40-13 win. So, and the key, I mean, they ran up 603 yards of total offense to the Tigers 396. Wow. That was impressive. But the key thing here is they came up with 4 takeaways in that game, and so yeah, Memphis is definitely gonna want a little payback. So yeah, of course led by quarterback Riley Ferguson and running back Darrell Henderson and wide receiver Anthony Miller. So the UCF, the Memphis. The Tigers. They're definitely gonna rely on those guys. As for UCF, they have the nation's top scoring offense, led by quarterback Mackenzie Milton and veteran receiver Tre'Quan Smith. So, man, I think this could have the potential to be a high scoring game. So, I don't know. We'll just definitely have to wait and see on that. So, this is a tough one to call, but I have to go with the UCF to win this one. I'm going to say 38-34. UCF over Memphis, and they get a berth in the and I think the New Year's Six Bowl. So Florio, who's taking home the American Athletic Conference title?
UCF. That's who. I agree on everything. You talked about that September 30th meeting between these two where UCF obliterated Memphis 40-13. And you talked about it, the 603 to 396. What you forgot to mention was UCF also had four takeaways. They forced 4 turnovers in that win. And a 96-yard touchdown run by Adrian Killins Jr. And that pretty much put that one out of reach. Since that loss, however, Memphis has rolled to 7 straight wins, 5 of them by at least 3 scores. And they're number 2 in the nation in scoring at 47 a game. And Riley Ferguson, 318 yards a game. And Darrell Henderson, their running back, has rushed for 1,045 yards. And their wide receiver, Anthony Miller, with the 1,212 yards and 14 touchdowns. But for UCF, nation's top scoring offense, like you said, at 48, almost 48 and a half a game. They're led by their amazing young quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, the total offense leader in the conference, 429 yards rushing and 3,300 passing. And their veteran receiver, Tre'Quan Smith, second in receiving yards at 83.7. So Memphis has scorched just about every defense since UCF smashed the Tigers. And after seeing Southern Florida quarterback Quentin Flowers obliterate the Knights last week, UCF does look beatable. However, we're going to give their defense a little benefit of the doubt, since it hasn't given up more than 6 yards a snap all season. The unit will make enough stops to support the nation's number 1 scoring offense. I agree with you in the sense it'll be a high-scoring game, but I think it's going to be a little more higher scoring than you have it. I got UCF winning. I agree with you. My final score, I'm going to go 48-38 in favor of UCF. So, should be a very exciting game, to say the very least. Looking forward to it. So with all that being said, let's move on now. We're moving on now to the Big 12 championship game, 12:30 kickoff on Fox. And another return match. The number 11 TCU Horned Frogs against the number 3 Oklahoma Sooners, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Jerry World, if you will. Fox will have this game, and yeah, we're gonna have a full house on this one between the announce booth and the sidelines. You got Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Bruce Feldman, Petros Papadakis, and Mike Pereira. So that's a full house, to say the very least. And Oklahoma, 7 to 7.5 point favorites. Or as you remember, just a few short weeks ago, they met, and Oklahoma knocked off TCU 38-20. A year ago, a Big 12 championship game might have helped Oklahoma make the case for a spot in the college football playoff. Without one, they finished number 7 and went to the Sugar Bowl. This season, though, Oklahoma doesn't figure to need the game to earn a berth, though a loss could cost the team and the league a spot. Sooners coach Lincoln Riley said he wasn't concerned about the chance that the league could play its way out of a playoff berth. 2 summers ago, the Big 12 reinstituted the championship game, partially in response to Baylor and TCU being left out of the college football playoff in its inaugural season, partially to bridge the revenue gap between the league and the SEC and Big Ten. Instead of splitting the league into divisions as every other major conference with a title game does, the league's administrators voted to keep the 9-game round-robin conference schedule in place, with the title game berths going to the teams that finished first and second in the standings. And at the same time, the league also juggled the schedule to try to avoid a rematch in successive weeks for close to it. 2 teams of all of this year's game played November 11th in Norman, where the Sooners used a big first half to beat the Horned Frogs 38-20. A constant is Oklahoma senior quarterback Baker Mayfield, who enters the game with a headlock on the Heisman Trophy. In 27 career games against Big 12 opponents, he has completed almost 71% of his passes for 8,254 yards and 83 touchdowns with just 14 interceptions. He threw for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game against TCU. Oklahoma also ran for 200 yards, the most allowed by the Horned Frogs all season. But TCU went most of the game without Matt Bosin, defensive end who had 5.5 sacks in last weekend's win over Baylor, was ejected early in the second quarter for kicking an Oklahoma player. TCU will be without a key piece, though, at least to start. Safety Nick Orr will be suspended for the first half of the Saturday game after throwing a punch during the third quarter brawl last week. 1 week after ceding 52 points to Oklahoma State, a criticized Oklahoma defense responded by holding TCU to just 20. Repeating that performance will be challenging. Fortunately for the Sooners, they have the likely Heisman Trophy winner in Baker Mayfield. His overall efficiency, particularly in the red zone, will propel OU in a much tighter finish. So, needless to say, I've got Oklahoma winning this renewed Big 12 championship. I think it'll be a little more closer than the last game, but it will still be on the higher scoring side. I'm going to go with Oklahoma to win. My final score, 34-27, Oklahoma over TCU. Nothing more to say on this. Michael Bullock, second time. TCU, Oklahoma, they just met a few weeks ago, back on the 11th of November in Norman. Oklahoma dominated. So TCU really has nothing to play for here. I mean, except for a shot in year 6. But Oklahoma, pressure big time on them. Winning they're in, losing, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, this is big for this is more big for Oklahoma than it is for TCU. I mean, yeah, but well, first off, I mean it's good to have the Big 12 championship back after a long hiatus here, and yeah, I mean, excuse me. I mean, Oklahoma, like you said, is led by their senior quarterback Baker Mayfield, who was in the running for the Heisman Trophy with, of course, in the first meeting against them, he threw for over 333 yards with 3 touchdowns, and Oklahoma ran the ball for 200 yards against TCU. So that was almost allowed by the Horned Frogs all season. So. But TCU during that game, they went most of the game without one of their key defensive players, the defensive end Matt Bosin, who went 5.5 sacks in last weekend's win over Baylor because he was ejected early in the second quarter for kicking an Oklahoma player. So yeah, so there's definitely a lot on the line here. And I'll tell you what, Anthony. If Oklahoma loses this game, this is definitely going to throw the college football playoff into a loophole, and maybe a team like Alabama could capitalize on it and possibly make it in. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see on that. I mean, so, but either way, I got Oklahoma winning this one. I think this is going to be a shootout. I'm going to say about 40-37 is going to be my final score. So, nothing more to say. Florio, let's move on to our next conference title game, which I think is the SEC title game.
And it's the game that we agreed is our number 2 game of the week. You would think it's the biggest one, but no, there's actually one bigger. But we'll explain in a moment. But SEC championship on the line here. The number 6 Made in Georgia Bulldogs and the now number 2 Auburn Tigers. The brand new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. CBS has it, of course. You know who's working it. Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, Allie LaForce. Auburn, 2 to 3 point favorite. All right, Bullet. Georgia, since they got shellacked by Auburn, they come on strong. They had an easy win. They bounced back against Kentucky. Had an easy time with Georgia Tech. But Auburn, they're the toast of the league right now. I mean, they're the toast of college football, man. I mean, they obliterated Georgia back on, I believe it was November the 3rd. Absolutely pounding them, putting them under siege, if you will, 40-17. And then you think if they couldn't follow that up? Well, Jared Ferreira and myself, we agreed. I think you did too. That Auburn had a chance against Bama. I know that they have a chance. They got the job done. They pounded Bama. So the question is, whoever wins is going to make it. Does Georgia get their revenge? Or does Auburn make it 2 for 2 and keep the hot streak going?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we basically called it with Auburn stunning the then number 1 team in the nation, Alabama, and with what they did in that that game. So, excuse me. Yeah, no surprising on that. And like you said, I mean, and yeah, Georgia's going to be looking for payback after what happened after when Auburn beat the Georgia Bulldogs big time in that game. I mean, who would have thunk they would win the way they did, 40-17? I don't think any of us had it that way. So, yeah, so it's basically simple for Auburn. I mean, it's winning. You're basically in the college football playoff. So, and if Georgia wins this game and gets a lot of help, who knows? They could be in it. So, yeah, yeah, and of course, yeah, I mean, Auburn they dominated both lines of scrimmage in that game, which led to big days for running back Kerryon Johnson and quarterback Jared Stidham. So who knows? We can get another thing like that in this game. But and Auburn's defense has been very impressive as of late, especially in that game where they held Georgia's league-leading rushing attack to a mere 46 yards. 46 yards. Man, I mean, that was really impressive here. So, yeah, Auburn's going to have to do that again because Georgia's going to rely on that running game once again. But they also have to put pressure on freshman quarterback Jake Fromm, because in that meeting they basically sacked him 4 times and held him to 13 of 28 passing for 184 yards. So if they can contain the running game and have quarterback Jake Fromm beat him in the air, I just may like Auburn's chances here. So this is tough, but I'm going to go with the Auburn Tigers to win this one. I think this is going to be much closer than that first meeting. I'm going to say I'm I'm going to go 31-24. Auburn beats Georgia. Auburn punches their ticket to the college football playoff. So nothing more for me to say. So Florio, does Auburn win this game and punch their ticket to the college football playoff, or does Georgia pull off the upset? And like I said, they're going to need a lot of help if they want to get in.
Well, let's look at it. Winner of this game almost certainly will move on to the 14th playoff to determine the national championship. For Georgia and Auburn, the stakes are clear when they meet in this SEC championship. And neither team will be at a lack of familiarity. They met 3 weeks ago with Auburn, defeating the then number one Bulldogs 40-17, dominating Georgia in every phase. This time, however, there is one significant difference. Instead of playing in front of a stadium packed with Auburn fans, this contest at Mercedes-Benz figures to have a much redder tinge. Crowd or no crowd, if the Bulldogs want to win, they will have to execute much better than they did the last time these two met. Auburn dominated both lines of scrimmage, which led to big days from running back Kerryon Johnson, who had 167 yards, and quarterback Jarrett Stidham, 214 yards and 3 touchdowns. Might be another significant difference in the rematch. Kerryon Johnson, who has worked his way into at least the fringes of the Heisman Trophy discussion, he sustained a shoulder injury last week in a win over then number one Alabama. No definite answer on his status likely will be forthcoming before the end of the week, maybe not until kickoff. He has rushed for 1,276 yards in just 10 games, having missed 2 to a hamstring injury in the past 4 games since backfield mate Cameron Petway went down with a shoulder injury. Johnson has rushed for 553 yards in 3 of his 17 touchdowns. He's also made 13 of 21 receptions over that span with both of his scores. Auburn's defense has been top-notch as well. Tigers held Georgia's league-leading rushing attack, 265.5 a game, to a mere 46 yards. Bulldogs running back Nick Chubb, 1,098 yards. Sony Michel, 903, with 13 touchdowns. The Auburn defense also made it difficult for Georgia true freshman quarterback Jake Fromm in the first meeting. Tigers sacked him 4 times and held him to 13 of 28 for 184 yards. It has taken Coach Smart just 2 years, though, to get the Bulldogs into the championship game for the first time since 2012. And Bulldogs senior linebacker Lorenzo Carter said the time is now. So, Auburn is the hottest team in college football. Entering the SEC championship with a banged-up Kerryon Johnson is hugely concerning. During the Iron Bowl, he recorded a positive gain on 18 of his 19 first-down carries to help limit passing situations. But if Johnson cannot handle 30 touches because of the shoulder injury, an inspired Georgia team very likely can take advantage and limit Auburn's offense. Something to think about there. At the end, you know what I have to do. I always have to go with the hot hand, as you know. So I agree with you, Bullock. I got Auburn winning as well. I would not be surprised if Georgia were to win, however. I certainly would not. You know they've got revenge on their minds after they got humiliated and put under siege by Auburn. So I'm going with Auburn to win, but I think it's going to be a little more lower scoring than you have it. 24-20. I'm going to go Auburn defeats Georgia in the SEC championship. So very much looking forward to it. So let's move on now to the Mountain West championship game. The number 25 Fresno State Bulldogs against the Boise State Broncos. Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho. A 7:45 kickoff on ESPN on the Smurf turf. And it will be Adam Amin with Dusty Dvorak and Molly McGrath on the call. And Boise State is an 8.5 to 9-point favorite against Fresno State. So Jeff Tedford, head coach of number 25 Fresno State, once again meets Boise State and its head coach Brian Harsin in this Mountain West Championship game. So on opposite sidelines, the two share similar backgrounds on their way to this title opportunity. Tedford in his first year at Fresno State completing a remarkable regular season turnaround That culminated with a 28-17 home win over Boise last week for the Milk Can Trophy. The Bulldogs have already claimed the West Division's berth in the last week's game, but the victory over the Broncos put a fitting bow on their turnaround from a 1-11 finish in 2016. And for Tedford, his own hard work and long path paid dividends this season as well. Successful with the Cal Golden Bears throughout the 2000s, Tedford's 11-season tenure in Berkeley ended in 2012 after the Golden Bears finished below 500 2 out of 3 years. He spent time in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the CFL with the BC Lions before returning to college football last season as an assistant to Chris Peterson and the Washington Huskies. Peterson, before taking the job at Washington following the 2013 season, spent 8 years as the head coach of Boise State. The program won at least 10 games in 7 consecutive seasons from 2006 to 2012. Harsin worked as the Broncos' offensive coordinator from 2006 to 2010, following a 4-year tenure as the tight ends coach. And like Tedford, celebrated for his work with quarterbacks at Oregon, Cal, and in a previous assistant's tenure at Fresno State. Harsin was long known for his offensive acumen. However, both coaches now oversee teams paving their way to the Mountain West Championship in defensive prowess. Fresno State is number 12 in the nation in scoring defense at 17.3 points a game, and is number 15 against the run, surrendering just 117.3 yards a game. Boise State ranks number 41 in points allowed at 23.3, and number 19 defending the rush with 125 yards allowed a game. Last week's relatively low-scoring rivalry game set a tone likely to carry in the Saturday's championship. The Bulldogs held Boise to just 3.5 yards a carry. The Broncos yielded only 3.3 yards of rush on the opposite side. Fresno State quarterback Marcus McMaryion outdueled Boise State's Brett Rippon with 332 yards and 2 TDs to Rippon's 294 and 1 touchdown. Following the win, Bulldogs defensive back Jaron Bryant credited defensive coordinator Orlando Steinauer for Fresno State's performances this season. One striking difference between the head coaches ahead of his title tilt is that Harsin, in just his 50 years as head coach, boasts 2 conference championships in 2 different leagues. He led Arkansas State to the Sun Belt in 2013 and Boise State to the Mountain West the next year. Despite Tedford's success at Cal in the 2000s, USC's run of dominance during the decade denied the Golden Bears from ever claiming more than a share of the championship. Pac-10. Harsin is not just aiming for his 3rd conference championship. Boise State is out to end a 2-year title drought, the longest such stretch for this program since 97 and 98, when it was a member of the Big West. From the Big West to the WAC and now the Mountain West, Boise has won at least a share of 12 championships since transitioning to Division I in 96. So, looking at this side here, despite both teams finishing Mountain West play 7-1 and Fresno State earning the head-to-head tiebreaker, Boise will host the championship clash. That's a huge advantage for a Boise State defense that is 7.5 points and 87.5 yards better at home, where it forced 13 turnovers in 6 games. Fresno might need a non-offensive score to spring the upset, but I don't see it happening. I'm going with Boise State to win the Mountain West. 23-20, Boise State wins it. Something about them on the Smurf turf. I mean, you got to go with it. So, 23-20, Boise State. So, let's get your quick thought on the Mountain West. Fresno State and Boise State on the old Smurf turf in Boise.
Yeah, I gotta go with Boise. I gotta go with Boise State as well. Even though, like you said, Fresno State is. I mean, even though they are ranked, I mean, I just about that turf there that makes this Boise State team play really really good. So yeah, so there's pretty much nothing more to say. I mean, you pretty much touched on everything. So yeah, so I'm gonna go Boise State as well. So I'm gonna go 24-20 Boise State wins. So let's just move on, Florio.
You ready for the game we called the game of the week?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
The ACC championship on the line. The number 7 Miami Hurricanes, the number 1 Clemson Tigers, Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. 8 o'clock on ABC. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria Taylor. Don't be surprised if they add Tom Rinaldi to that mix. And I believe Clemson is a 9 to 10 point favorite here. Miami, I don't know what happened to the U last week. They got humiliated by Pittsburgh on Black Friday. This game right here could have been a game of the century right here. This could have been a 1 versus 2 if you really think about it. But can the U and their infamous turnover chain, can they come back from that loss in a humongous way? Or do the defending champs get a chance to defend their crown?
Yeah, I think this should be a good game. I mean, because of what's at stake here. And it's hard to believe it, Florio. I don't know if you know about this, but the Miami Hurricanes are going to be making their first ever ACC title game appearance since they joined the league back in 2003. So, yeah. But like you said, it's going to be no small task against the defending national champion and number 1 rank Clemson Tigers. Of course, Clemson 11-1 and will be bidding for its 3rd consecutive ACC title and 3rd straight appearance in the college football playoff. And like you said, Florio, Miami's coming off of a upset loss at Pittsburgh that spoiled the Hurricanes' bid for a perfect season in Rick's 2nd year at the helm. But a win Saturday could put Miami into the playoff. Rick, who spent 15 years at Georgia before replacing Al Golden at Miami prior to last season, has overseen a rapid turnaround at his alma mater, guiding the Hurricanes to a 19-4 record in 2 seasons. So yeah, Mark Richt's team has been built around an opportunistic defense led by safety Jaquan Johnson and linebackers Shaquille Quarterman and Michael Pinckney. The Hurricanes led the nation with a plus 17 turnover margin and also led the country in sacks with an average of 3.55 per game. On offense, junior quarterback Malik Rozier has had plenty of big moments, particularly in sparking late-game heroics and victories over Florida State, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, and North Carolina. Running back Travis Homer has been productive, rushing for 861 yards since taking over for the injured Mark Walton, who was out for the season. But the Hurricanes will be without standout tight end Chris Herndon, who suffered a season-ending injury against Pittsburgh. Despite massive personal losses from last year's national championship team, Clemson is back in the national title hunt for a 3rd straight year thanks to the rapid development of junior quarterback Kelly Bryant, who was charged with replacing 2-time Heisman Trophy finalist Deshaun Watson. The Tigers also have flourished thanks to a defense that ranks among the nation's best. Clemson is 6th nationally in total defense and ranks in the top 10 in 9 other defensive categories. Clemson's defensive front features 4 players who were either first or second team All-ACC selections and future NFL draft prospects. All tackles Christian Wilkins and Dexter Lawrence, and ends Colin Farrell and Austin Bryan. The last time that Clemson and Miami played was back in 2014, where the Tigers rolled to a 58-0 victory in what turned out to be the last game for Al Golden. So, yeah, Clemson shooting to get back to take one step closer to the national championship and defending their title. Miami looking to pull off the upset and try to get back into the college football playoff. So it's tough, but I got to go with Clemson. I like what I've seen from them, not just offensively, but defensively as well. So I'm going to say 24-20. Clemson beats Miami and will be in the college football playoff. So, and of course, a quick update. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys beat the Washington Redskins 38-14 on Thursday Night Football. It was a must-win game for both of these teams, and Dallas was the one that comes out the victor, so definitely a big win for the Cowboys. So nothing more to say. So Florio, can Clemson win here and punch their ticket to the college football playoff, or will Miami shock the entire nation and put the Canes back into contention for the college football playoff?
If Miami didn't lose to Pittsburgh, I would have considered Miami. I really would have. But after that Pittsburgh performance against Pittsburgh, I have to go with Clemson. I really do. Um, when the big plays disappear, so does Miami's offense. In a loss to Pitt last week, Malik Rozier averaged a meager 5.5 yards per attempt, his worst mark in 12 career games as a starter. If the Canes aren't able to attack Clemson vertically, this game will hardly be competitive. Clemson will outlast the stout Miami defense as long as Kelly Bryant and company are successful on third down. You pretty much covered everything on your side, Bullet, so I'm not going to go into any more further detail, except I'm going to go with Clemson to win. My final score, I'm going to go 31-24, Clemson over Miami. Should still be a good game, though. So, yeah, what a shame for the U. I mean, if it wasn't for that Pittsburgh debacle, they would have had a great opportunity here. But who knows? They could still win. I mean, if they win, I think they get in if they win. So, we'll find out. Final game of the week, the Big Ten championship on the line. The number 8 Ohio State Buckeyes, the number 4 Wisconsin Badgers, Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana, on Fox. Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt, Jenny Taft on the call. Ohio State a 6-point favorite. Man alive, what a game this is here. They met last year, October 2016. That was their last meeting, and Ohio State won that 30-23. I believe that was in Camp Randall. So, parallels between this year's Big Ten championship in Indianapolis and 2014 are striking. Number 4 Wisconsin and number 8 Ohio State are not only playing for the conference title again Saturday night, but both have a chance to make the college football playoff. Each team has a standout running back. This year, both happen to be freshmen. And Ohio State enters the game with uncertainty at quarterback because of an injury to J.T. Barrett, who underwent arthroscopic knee surgery on Sunday, but is expected to play. Back in 2014, Barrett suffered a broken ankle in the final regular season game against Michigan, and Cardale Jones came off the bench to famously lead the Buckeyes' national championship run that began with a 59-0 rout of Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. Barrett is a senior now, and he also was hurt in the regular season finale against Michigan, a 31-20 Ohio State victory. This time around, Barrett is considered probable against Wisconsin. There is a possibility that Ohio State might need to call on redshirt freshman Dwayne Haskins if Barrett is unable to go. Haskins came in at Michigan during the third quarter last Saturday and led Ohio State's fourth quarter comeback that resulted in its 6th straight win in the rivalry game. It all sounds familiar, and yet the coaches, the players who are still around, insist that past history, which includes Ohio State's 30-23 victory at Wisconsin a year ago, and the team's last meeting, has nothing to do with the present. Paul Chryst was not the head coach in 2014 when Wisconsin endured the beatdown by Ohio State in the championship game. But he's obviously familiar with what happened. Badgers entered the contest against the Buckeyes with an unblemished record, and yet there are plenty of skeptics who dismiss Wisconsin's postseason chances. They say the Big Ten West division was subpar and the schedule was weak. The Badgers' best chance to win Saturday night revolves around standout freshman running back Jonathan Taylor, who has run behind a massive offensive line for 1,806 yards and leads the Big Ten in rushing, just as Wisconsin's Melvin Gordon did in 2014. Wisconsin also will try to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Its defense leads the Big Ten in fewest rushing yards, 80.5, total yards 237, and points 12 allowed a game. No Big Ten team has made more trips to the championship game than the Badgers, 5, including 3 of the last 4 years. Ohio State opened the weekend as a 6.5-point favorite. Buckeyes are 1-1 in Big Ten title games, winning it in 2014. The obvious question marks surrounding Ohio State leading up to the game will be the status of Barrett, the 4-year starter who last Saturday tied Art Schleister's school record of quarterbacks with 36 wins. The previously undisclosed cartilage damage in Barrett's right knee aggravated when it was bumped on the sideline in Michigan while warming up. It's apparently something he has dealt with all year. But up until that point, it hadn't affected him on the field. Barrett leads the Big Ten in touchdown passes with 33, and second in total offense. Along the way, he has broken numerous school and Big Ten records. If Barrett is unable to play or is limited, Haskins proved at Michigan that he is ready to take the reins. Barrett is a big part of Ohio State's offense, which leads the Big Ten in most statistical categories, but it is built around a strong running game led by two capable backs. Freshman J.K. Dobbins, second in the Big Ten, behind Taylor in rushing with 1,190 yards. And sophomore Mike Weber has run equally as well late in the season. Defensively, Ohio State is strong up front with its rush man package that will attempt to get after Wisconsin quarterback Alex Hornibrook, 21 TDs and 13 picks, and slow down Taylor. Over the last 3 weekends, the Badgers have allowed just 2.9 yards a snap. Hard to overstate the excellence of this defense. But with interceptions in 9 of his 12 games this season, Wisconsin quarterback Alex Hornibrook is a wild card. Unless the rushing attack has an unexpected surge opposite a stout front seven, Hornibrook needs to play a mistake-free game. While that could happen, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we can expect it. This is very tough to call. Very, very tough. The JT Barrett thing, that very much worries me. If he didn't get injured against Michigan, I would have gone with Ohio State in this one. But this has been a magical year for Wisconsin. And I think Wisconsin gets their revenge from 3 years ago. I like Wisconsin to win this one 20-17. Wisconsin over Ohio State. And what I think should be a very exciting Big Ten championship on Saturday night. So nothing more to say here, Michael Wallach. Big Ten championship. Ohio State, Wisconsin. Does the undefeated season continue for Wisconsin? Or does Ohio State and the Badgers their first loss of the year? JT Barrett, he's iffy.
Yeah, it has been a pretty good season for Wisconsin. I mean, they're as of right now in the college football playoff, but Ohio State is not out of it too, because all they need to do is win, and like I said with so many other teams, they really need to get a lot of help here. Yeah, and the thing with Ohio State, like you mentioned, JT Barrett, like you said, I mean, he did have that arthroscopic knee surgery on Sunday, but they do expect him to play. So it'll be very interesting to see how he does after that. So yeah, and there's also a possibility that if for some reason Barrett can't go, Dwayne Haskins could get the start. So, but they do expect him to be ready to go. And like I said with Wisconsin, I mean they've done everything well this season. So, and of course, led by freshman running back Jonathan Taylor, who led the Big Ten in rushing and has a chance to add to it. And they're really going to have to rely on him, and they're also going to have to rely on the defense, which led the Big Ten in the fewest rushing yards, total yards, and points allowed per game. So yeah, it's a tough call, but I got to go with Wisconsin as well. I mean, I think they're destined to be in the college football playoffs. So I'm going to say 20-24 is going to be my final score. So nothing more to say. So Florio, I think it's time to do our final power poll of the season.
Let's get after it. Final power poll of this college football season. It's hard to believe that we're at this point. Like I said, I mean, it's like just yesterday we started this whole thing, and now here we are at the end, and we're going to end it with our final power poll of this season. So, well, there's going to be some major changes, no question about it. So, 2 duds We got two duds in there. First and foremost, the U. I mean, what was that against Pittsburgh? Game you honestly should have won. Should have had an easy time with. But what did they do? They looked past them to get to Clemson. You're gone. The other dud, Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame going down to Stanford, 38-20. And you could even make an argument for Alabama, but Alabama's resume just too damn good all year. So even with this one loss, you really have to maybe consider keeping them in there because of. So that's really all there is to say on that. So with that being said, let's dive on in. Starting at number 10, and my number 10 is going to be TCU. TCU defeating Baylor 45-22 in their last game. They're going to go up against Oklahoma for the Big 12 championship on Saturday night. I mean, this is a big game for them. If they win, well, they might have a chance to make the CFP, but they're going to need some help. But a New Year's Six bowl most likely for them. But nonetheless, I got TCU in there at number 10, so nothing more to say. Well, at number 10, TCU.
Yeah, I agree with you. TCU is my number 10 in our final college football poll of the season. So nothing more to say. Let's just move on right on to number 9.
Penn State Nittany Lions coming in at number 9. I mean, 10-2 year. I mean, it looked like we were easily going to see them in the CFP, but those humiliating losses to Ohio State and Michigan State put the kibosh on that. But they bounced back, winning against 3 inferior opponents in Rutgers, Nebraska, and Maryland, 66-3 over Maryland. Yowza. Bowl game for them. Most likely we'll see them in a New Year's Six. We just don't know who that will be at this time. We'll most likely find out Sunday when those games are announced. But a great year for Penn State nonetheless. So Penn State Nittany Lions, number 9. Well, how do you feel about that?
I feel the same way. Penn State Nittany Lions, they're my number 9. So there's nothing more to say. Let's just move right on to number 8.
Great. We have a number 8. Number 8. USC Trojans. USC Trojans coming in at number 8 for my final power poll. I mean, they bounced back nicely after the Notre Dame debacle. Well, actually, I should have had them in a tie at number 9 because their season's over and they didn't play last week. So it's going to be USC and Penn State as co-number 9s. So we're just going to move on. Let's move back into the other number 8. And I think I have the Maiden Georgia Bulldogs here. Actually, no, I have them up a little bit higher. Ohio State Buckeyes, number 8. I've got Georgia a smidgen higher. Man, Ohio State, 3 in a row after that humiliating loss to Iowa. Knocking off Michigan State, Illinois, and Michigan. Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. Must win for them. If they win, very likely they might have a chance to make it. Well, I don't know what happens if they lose, but But, they took care of their business against Michigan. They struggled at first, but they found a way to come back and beat Michigan. So, Ohio State number 8. So, Mullet, what do you say to that?
Penn State Nittany Lions, they're my number 8 as well. So, nothing more to say. So, let's move right along to number 7.
You mean Ohio State at number 8, right? Because you got Penn State at 9. Bullet, come back in. I think you meant to say Ohio State at number 8. You said Penn State. Okay, all right. I'll take it back here. Okay, let me see. Ohio State is 8. Now I'm going to have a very surprising addition in these rankings, but that's going to be coming up very shortly. So,
yeah, Florida. I didn't know I had my mic muted, but yeah, I meant to say Ohio State because it was tough to hear what you said on my end. I thought you said Penn State, but I forgot we had them at number 9. So
yeah.
So Ohio State is my number 8.
Absolutely. So, all right, now the team I have at number 7 is going to be a surprise. Maybe a surprise to some, but to me, based on the body of work this team had all year, I think they more than deserve to be in this final Power Bowl. I'm going to give it to the UCF Central Florida Knights at number 7. Undefeated, even though they were in a mech conference like the American, but they took care of business. They have a championship game against Memphis. They win that. It's a New Year's Six Bowl. I mean, they dominated in every aspect of the game. I mean, they've only had 2 close games all year. All but 2 of their games have been double-digit victories. Very impressive. And that body of work, just impressive. And I think they more than deserve to be in these rankings. So, my number 7, the UCF Central Florida Knights. What do you say to that, Bullock?
I agree. The UCF Knights are my number 7 as well. I mean, especially with the way they played so far this season. I mean, it's hard to not even put this team in. So, number 7, UCF. Let's move right along to number 6.
Maine and Georgia Bulldogs. This is where they are. They what a nice bounce back for them. They finished the year 10-2. I should say 11-1, and 7-1 in the SEC. The only loss was to Auburn. They bounced back with wins over Kentucky, easy wins over Kentucky and Georgia Tech. Auburn next. They win. Very likely they make it to the college football playoff. Not sure what happens with a loss, but Georgia, nice bounce back for them. So they're at number 6. So what do you say to that, Bullock?
Maine and Georgia Bulldogs, they're my number 6 as well. So let's move right along to the top 5.
And even though they lost to Auburn, I think they should still be in the power rankings because of their resume and body of work all season long. Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama Crimson Tide down to number 5. 11-1. 7-1 in the SEC. The only loss was to Auburn. They're going to need a lot of help if they want to be back in the college football playoff yet again. So we'll see what happens, but their body of work is just too damn good to be left out. So I know they probably shouldn't be in the rankings, but unlike the U, who lost to an inferior opponent in Pittsburgh and lost badly, which is why I had to boot the U out. Bama, though, they lost to a credible opponent in Auburn. Their only loss, they were just too good all year. They can't be ignored. So Alabama's number 5. So, Bullet, is that okay with you?
I agree. I have the Alabama Crimson Tide as my number 5 as well. Yeah, yeah, they did lose to Auburn, but not like in a big way where it's really going to hurt them that much. To the point where, like you said in the like we said that they're on the outside looking in the college football playoff, but they're going to need a lot of help if they want to get in. So nothing more to say. Let's move along to number 4.
All right, just give me a moment here. All right. Remember, these rankings do not reflect the that of the college football playoff ranking. Just to let you folks know, a little disclaimer there. So, number 4, this is where I got to go with the Auburn Tigers. Auburn defeating Alabama 26-14, winning the Iron Bowl. They get Georgia in the SEC championship. This is it. This is the big one right here. At Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they need to beat Georgia again. And if they do, they're obviously in. If they lose, they're gone. They look to make history. They look to be the first 2-loss team to ever make the college football playoff. No 2-loss team has ever made it into the CFP. Auburn with a second win over Georgia in less than a month. They will be that first team. We'll see what happens. For now, the number 4. Well, look about it.
Yes, the Auburn Tigers. They're my number 4 as well. So yeah. You pretty much touched on everything. Let's just move right along to number 3.
Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin Badgers finishing the year undefeated. Big Ten championship against Ohio State. What a great year for them. 12-0, 9-0 in conference play. Easy win over Minnesota. They got Ohio State next. Golden opportunity for them. They win, they're in. They lose, probably still in the year 6 bowl. So, Wisconsin Badgers number 3. Bullet.
Yeah, the Wisconsin Badgers are my number 3, and yeah, like you basically said with them, all they need to do is win, and they're in the college football playoff. But if they lose, well, it's basically a New Year's Six bowl game for Wisconsin, which is not all that bad either. So yeah, nothing more to say. Let's just move on to number 2.
Oklahoma Sooners. They finished the year 11-1 overall, 8-1 in the Big 12. They won the Big 12 regular season championship. Looked to win the championship against TCU Saturday afternoon. They knocked off West Virginia 59-31. Their only loss was to Iowa State on October 7th. But other than that, been Boomer Sooner all year long. And I think it continues on Saturday because I got them winning against TCU for a second time in less than a month. So we'll see them in the CFP, no doubt about it. So Oklahoma number 2, Boomer Sooner. Bullock, what do you say?
Boomer Sooner. The Oklahoma Sooners are my number 2. Let's move right along to the number 1 team in our power poll, and I think we know it's the Clemson Tigers, the reigning defending college football playoff national champion Clemson Tigers. So, yeah, when it comes, and all they have to do is win, and they're in. But if they lose, well, I think we pretty much said the same thing with Wisconsin. That they'll probably be in a New Year's Six bowl, or they could still be in the college football playoff depending on the outcome with some of the other games. So, yeah, so nothing more to say. Clemson number 1. Florio, take us home.
That's Clemson. 11-1 overall, 7-1 in the ACC. They won the Atlantic. We'll see them in the ACC championship against the U. Clemson's only loss was on October 13th on a Friday night. at Syracuse in the Carrier Dome, 27-24. But since then, they bounced back. They've won 5 in a row. 4 of the 5 were by double digits. Their only close game was NC State, 38-31. But other than that, all 4 of the other wins were by 14 or more. Very impressive. So, defending champs, gonna get it done. See what happens. And Bullock, made a great point. If even if they do lose, very likely we'll see them in a near 6, but they're not going to be in the CFP if they lose, because it'll be their second loss. If they didn't lose to Syracuse, maybe, but I don't know. So, but for now, they're number 1. It's Clemson. So, well, that's it, my friends. Another season. Strictly Sports College Football Thursday in the books. I want to thank you all so very, very much for tuning in all season long. We hope you enjoyed all of our coverage this season. We look forward to doing it again next year. So we're not done with college football yet, though. I mean, in about a month or so, I'm very sure we'll have a preview of the New Year's 6 bowl games
and the college football playoff.
That's included. That's included in that New Year's 6. So, and of course, the national championship down the line. So, with that being said, from Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Michael Fletcher, D.B. Woodson, and Derek Ferreira, I'm Anthony Floyos, and you know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Of course, tomorrow night, NFL Friday. 15 games remaining on the docket. We'll get into all of that and the power rankings and their ridiculously raw and cerebral smack talk and all that following. So until tomorrow night for NFL Friday, everybody who's been a part of this one, Bentley Floyle for now.